Hello and good afternoon. This is Martin Coward, and welcome to Noonday Meditation and Contemplative Prayer Power Hour, where we everyday mystics, people who just simply began to embrace the empowerment of the power of the creative force within us to live our lives. That's what a mystic is. We've embraced the mystery of life within us. That's all it means. It doesn't mean anything too crazy. But we come together every single day at noon here to love and support each other through the pandemic. And that's why we're here today. And I'm so excited because I want to share with you something I discovered yesterday. How people often ask me, as a prosperity coach that teaches people how to use spiritual principles to resolve financial problems and create wealth, they want to say, well, how do you do that? What are the practical ways in which that can happen? So yesterday, or this week, my speech coach encouraged me to purchase this software equipment to do video editing. She, like me, sometimes felt a little constrained by having to always pay a professional to take our videos and to edit them so that they can become polished for publishing. Which is great, and I probably would still do that for larger, bigger projects. But what about the smaller projects where I just want to put out a short video or a short 3-minute video, and I don't want to pay for someone or go through the timely constraint of having to have someone edit it? So she showed me, she demonstrated to me this amazing video editing tool that she uses to edit her videos. And she doesn't even pay anyone anymore. She does it all herself. And I could tell by the way she was showing me this and demonstrating how this worked and how she was using it, the freedom and the joy she had in actually creating the videos. And I thought, I want that. I want that for me. You know, I want that freedom. So, and also, by the way, but do me a favor, if you're joining me, would you please just type into the chat window below and let me know you're here. It's just nice to know you're here, but who's here? I see a number on the screen. It tells me how many people are here, or people stop by and say hello or like or whatever. But unless you tell me, unless you type it into the chat, I don't know who it is. So I love knowing who you are. And also, my encouragement is you're listening to engage with me, to ask me questions or comment. I find doing these every day. Hey, Mike, how are you doing? Glad you're here. Glad you're joining us. And I know you're moving out to California, I heard. That's exciting. I don't know if you're out there yet, but if you're in California, if you're in New York, the beauty of Zoom and the internet is we can join each other wherever we are. So I'm glad you're here today, and thank you for joining us. And I'm talking a little bit about sorry about that. Putting down this technical stuff gets out of the way. I'm talking about, so hey, oh, you're still in New York? Okay, well, glad you're here, and glad you're here with us today. I appreciate you joining us. It's great to have you here. We've been friends for a long, long time, and I'm always happy to. I'm always grateful for your love and support, and I love and supporting what you're doing. Both of us seem to be off on some pretty exciting journeys today, and making a difference in the world we live in. And that's what I hope today is to teach a little bit about how do we actually use spiritual principles to solve a problem. And I was telling a story about how I got so excited about this new software that my coach was using, and she was suggesting that I purchase it as well. So I purchased it, and I started watching the videos, and I was just getting very excited about this new tool I found, this new discovery, until I tried to actually use it to edit a couple of simple videos. And I couldn't do it. And I found myself getting so frustrated and angry that I couldn't just do what I kept seeing on the screen that looked so easy. I couldn't do it myself. Well, that just created a field day for my ego. It loves to find reasons to bark at me and tell me how I am not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not savvy enough, I'm not technical enough, I can't learn this. Martin, you should be ashamed of yourself for even trying to do this because you're too stupid to know it, you know. And I sat in the pain of all that for just a little while. Fortunately, I have a contemplative practice, and I'm aware of when I'm hitting a wall, when my fear dragon is rising up with its roar. And we all have heard the nonsense our egos tell us, the attacks that makes on us of not being good enough all our lives. So I know well enough to, okay, what spiritual tool do I need to put in place to move forward? And there's a tool called inquiry, where we begin to inquire to the ego mind to find a higher level of truth. We question the validity of those statements of you're not good enough, you're stupid, you don't have the technical sense. And then, so as I began to sort of sit in that inquiry, I remembered something that I heard Eckhart Tolle say the other day. And it stuck in my mind. I thought it was powerful. It's a spiritual principle that says human beings, many humans, one being. Many humans, one being. What is this one being? Eckhart Tolle calls that the presence of now. In the world of finance, and in the brilliant book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill calls this same infinite intelligence, this being, this presence, he calls that infinite intelligence. And the beauty is that this one being, we're all plugged into that. That's really who we are. And when I'm plugged into our one being, there is nothing lacking. And all of a sudden, I began to experience within me a shift. I shifted from fear to curiosity. As that presence within me said, wow, Martin, I can't wait. Look at what I've created. I don't mean I, Martin. I mean I, the creative genius within us, the divine presence. I also call it joy. That's what I mean about stepping into our spiritual nature, our true nature, our authentic nature, our presence to get us through the problem, to get us to the next place. So as I began to inquire all of those, and I could see the falsehood, the lie in the barks of my ego, telling me I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough. I said, no, maybe Martin, maybe the little individual Martin might be that way. But the creative genius in me is capable of learning what I created, because it was created by the same energy force. There's only one being, only one infinite intelligence. When we realize that, when we step into that power, it can change everything. So I went from fear to curiosity to actually joy and excitement. It was like a kid getting a new toy at Christmas that I saw in a catalog, and I wanted, and I got it. I said, oh my God, how does all this work? And so I spent the whole afternoon yesterday just playing with my new toy, creating videos, adding sound, adding effects, and it's amazing what it can do. And so I'm not only just learning a new toy that's fun to play with. I went to a place of fear and struggle to a place of joy and excitement, and I'm learning something really powerful. It's also a powerful tool that I can begin to use to grow a business. So it's that transformational process of stepping into our power of the truth of who and what we are, which is the creative aware mind, or the infinite intelligence that runs the one singular brain, if you will, that far transcends the limitations of our little human brain, and plug into that higher resource, that higher power. Wow, what a difference. What a difference. And in just one afternoon, it was amazing. When I went from trying to make it work and struggling to edit my video to make money, my mind was all about me, to just letting go of all that and just enjoying the new toy, enjoying what someone else has created and brought to the world to make our lives better in the world of editing, who make videos and how to edit them. So I was just, it's just, I'm sharing this with you because people often wonder, well, how do you actually use spiritual principles? How does being a contemplative have anything to do with me making money or me solving my problem? Well, that's exactly how we do it. We transcend the limitations of the ego thinking mind that cannot solve anything. It creates problems. And you can't solve a problem. It's one that created the problem and told me I was too stupid to learn it. There was no problem. I'm not too stupid to learn it. It was a made-up lie. The whole thing was a made-up lie. Yeah. And so it's a matter of, but the thing about contemplative practice, you got to practice it. Every single day, you got to, it's like any kind of muscle. You have to strengthen that muscle through a rock solid contemplative practice. I've been doing this for 40 years, and just for a short period of time, I struggled yesterday. I struggle with fear. I struggle with anxiety. We never completely lose sight of our lower dimensions, our fear and our insecurities. But we go down and we grab them and we include them and we transcend them and include them in our lives. And we become more wholehearted and we align ourselves, our minds, our hearts, and our spirits with the universe. And then we're able to accomplish anything. Let's see what Mike has to say. Exactly. I mean, when I'm fine, I love the book. I love the art. I love that book. It's a wonderful book. It talks exactly about what we're talking about today, Michael, and that is the practical uses of how we use Zen or contemplative practices or any of this access to a higher what Eckhart Tolle calls a transcendent mind, a transcendent space of consciousness, of awareness. And yes, you asked me a question at the end, where can I obtain assistance with this? What assistance specifically are you looking for? Are you looking for the software? I'm happy to tell you the name of the software is named Camtasia. Camtasia is the name of the software. That's what you're looking for. No, okay. What is it? Where can I obtain assistance with this? What do you mean exactly with that question? I'll be happy to tell you, but no, only may I know. Well, if you want to learn the technique, then I'm actually putting out a course right now called two courses I'm putting out, and they're not very expensive. One's like $47 for a whole course. One is a 21-day challenge for how to begin to put this into practice, and that'll be coming out right after Labor Day. It's $47, and it's a 21-day challenge to put these practices in place. It's an everyday practice. And I'm also putting out a free webinar. It's part of this, but I'm also putting together a webinar called Practicing the Art of Being Present. So I'm not going to give you an answer. I don't know what you're asking me for, but if you want to learn how to practice this, I'm providing some really low cost, in some cases free tools to help you learn how to do this. Because it's not an answer question. There is no answer. It's a practice. You know, just like for me yesterday, I had to practice it. I don't know, where can I do it? But what did you mean by where can I obtain assistance? Where can I obtain assistance with this? Okay. I'm not sure what you're asking me, but I will go along with it. If I'm missing something, Yeah, the book explains a lot, and it's like, but a lot of books, the problem with books is this: unless you actually practice something, they're just intellectual exercises. I suggest that if you really want to get this at a level where you can actually put it into practice, then you need to put it in practice. Yeah, I know the book teaches a lot of things, but you still got to put it in practice. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If you want to be able to do this, you got to practice what the book teaches. And I'm offering you a course for a low cost, a 21-day challenge that will help you practice exactly what the book is teaching. That's what I'm saying. It's your choice whether you want it. Yeah, exactly. I'm not. Yeah, exactly. You got it. Okay, good. Yes, but I want to say something different about transformational work or any type of work like this is that there's a lot of books and a lot of things that are out there, but they need to be more than an intellectual exercise. Because an intellectual exercise, like reading a book about going to the gym and working out. You know, it's like, oh, I know, I learned how to build a better body. I know how to get rid of my abs. I know how. I learned from reading all kinds. I did this for years, by the way. I used to love about muscle magazines and men working out, so I could look at the pictures and look like them. But the problem is looking at how to look like that wouldn't do anything for me. I had to actually do it. I had to actually create a practice, and that's what I'm pointing out is, Mike, if you want to actually begin to exercise this muscle, if you actually want to actually begin to use these spiritual principles that are brought up in that book, then you need to create, in some way, whether it's me or somebody else, you need to find a way to put it into practice. And if you're going to the gym, you might get a personal trainer. If you're going to do it in the, you're going to get do what I do, get a prosperity coach to help you see the things that are getting in the way and how you can be better at it. You already understand it. You just need to know how you start doing it. You know, yeah. So you actually begin to experience what I talked about. So good. I want to read just a little bit before we meditate on something called consciousness. I've been reading this book again. It's by Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth: Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. And it's just fascinating. He wrote this book in 2005, and to be going through what we're going through today, it's like wow. Talk about practicing the art of being present. Art of being present. That's what this is about. It's about practicing the art of being present. Yes, exactly. Good. That's wonderful. I mean, that's absolutely right. And if you're doing it, so you have a practice. That's amazing. That's great. And you learned it from that book. But you also learned it by taking that knowledge, information, and putting it into practice. And that's how you solve problems. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad you got something that's working for you. Consciousness. Consciousness is already conscious. It's the unmanifested, the eternal. The universe, however, is only gradually becoming conscious. Consciousness itself is timeless and therefore does not evolve. It was never born and does not die. When consciousness becomes the manifest universe, it appears to be subject to time and to undergo an evolutionary process. No human mind is capable of comprehending fully the reason for this process. But we can glimpse it within ourselves and become a conscious participant in it. And that's what Mike is doing. After reading this book, he became conscious of a consciousness within himself, a power within himself to sit down and tap into that resource. Consciousness is the intelligence, the organizing principle behind the arising of form. Consciousness has been preparing forms for millions of years so that it can express itself through them in the manifested. In my simple story, it was manifested in the form of a piece of software that improves people's lives, that made it easier for amateurs like myself to edit their software and create professional videos without spending a lot of money and having a lot of fun doing it. Although the unmanifested realm of pure consciousness could be considered another dimension, it is not separate. And I'd like to go on to say further, that dimension is within all of us. That dimension is what the Buddha called enlightenment or emptiness. And that dimension is what Jesus called the kingdom of heaven or spaciousness. They're the same thing. It depends on which path you go on. If you're like me and you have a contemplative path, you're Christian contemplative like me, and you follow the teachings of Jesus, then that would be the teacher that you might resonate with. If you are a Buddhist and you are a Zen Buddhist, for example, and Mike was talking about that book, then you might study Buddha and his teachings. But they're all teaching the same thing. It doesn't matter what you call it. And we need to find ways of learning that remove the obstacles to our perceptions of the words. So for a lot of people, the word God, for example, and religion and spirituality, some of those words get people caught up because they're in their mind, they imagine some nonsense that the human beings have created about these supreme beings. It's not true. So what we need to do is, in our practice, is to find a source or a teacher, if you will, like Eckhart Tolle, who's going to use words that don't trigger old wounds. You know what I mean? So he uses the word, instead of God, he uses the word consciousness. It's kind of hard to argue with the fact that you're conscious. If you're hearing me, you're conscious. If you're hearing me, you are God, basically. The part that's hearing you and me talking is God. It is that one being. If you want to argue with that, argue with it. But you wouldn't be here. People say, I'm not spiritual. I said, well, okay. What if you just use the word energy? Do you have energy? Yeah, you got spirit. Spirit was just a way to name, in the olden days, energy that you couldn't see or feel, touch with the senses. Today, you can use we use the word energy a lot. We are energy. We are the energetic force that created the universe. We're part of it. So words do matter, and the way we frame things certainly do matter. And I love it when people like Mike get on here and they share, well, I learned this from Zen. Yeah, it's a great way to learn it. And I spent about 10 years playing with Zen Buddhism myself. There's been a number of times in different Zen monasteries, learning how to get quiet, learning the practice, the Zen meditation practice. And yeah, it's all part of the same path. It's all quite beautiful, quite lovely. Although the unmanifested realm of pure consciousness could be considered another dimension, it is not separate from the dimension of form. Read that again. Although the unmanifested realm of pure consciousness could be considered another dimension, it is not separate from the dimension of form. Form and formlessness interpenetrate. The unmanifested flows into this dimension as awareness and inner peace, presence. I'll move that again. The unmanifested flows into this dimension as awareness and inner peace, or what Eckhart Tolle calls presence, or the presence of now. How does it do that? Through the human form that becomes conscious and thus fulfills its destiny. The human form was created for this higher purpose, and millions of other forms prepared the ground for it. When we discover this is who we are, then the purpose, our purpose, which I'm going to say is really to learn to love yourself more fully. And as we learn to love ourselves more fully, then we manifest a world from that creativity. It's a creative spark. Love is a creative spark that creates everything. I'm not talking about the emotion. I'm talking about the creative force of the universe called unconditional love. When we learn to love ourselves unconditionally, we put out that unconditional into the manifestation of the form world, the form we call the material world. That's why I think it's so important right now during COVID-19 and this pandemic, as the old economic structures begin to implode on the pain of themselves, that we sit in the discomfort of that deconstruction, if you will, to dissolve it and reconstruct it in ourselves and in the world to manifest new structures, new systems that come from the truth of love, abundance, and prosperity. And then we get to live, we get to manifest and create a new earth, a new world from that place of truth. And that's the whole purpose of what we come together for, is to become more and more aware of that truth within us, to empower us to change the world. And that is what we're doing right now. Right now. And this is a very, very exciting way to live and a very exciting place to be in the history of the evolution of humankind. So I'm glad you're here. It's an exciting ride. And we've worked pretty hard. We've gone through a lot of pain, by the way. Let's acknowledge something. We, particularly those of us who've been in the marginalized, whether you're LGBT or you're Black or you're of color, and you haven't come from that place of privilege, we've gone through a lot of pain to get here. And hallelujah, we have arrived. The arc is bending toward justice. And it seems to be happening faster and faster and faster. And that's exciting. The human form was created for this higher purpose, and millions of other forms prepared the ground for it. Everything. So let's get into a little practice of meditation. Hold on one second. Let me get my insight timer. Oh, there's my friend Mindy. Where have you been? What page am I on? I'm all over the place. I've read the book a while back, and I just re-listened to the book a few months ago, and so now I just kind of sporadically pull it up and look at different pieces that sort of, I let the universe kind of guide me. I can't find a single paragraph that I don't like or it doesn't inspire me in some way, but it's just full of rich ideas. So that page just came out almost at the very end of the book. I mean, that was probably right at the very end of the book. Actually, that was right at the very end. But that's what I do. I hope you enjoy the book, and when you come on, please share what your ahas and your thoughts. If you had anything come up so far, please share it with us, because we would love to talk about it, because he is really spot on right now, and I've just finished this 8-week course in manifestation, and it certainly influenced what I talk about and what I'm doing in the day-to-day basis. It's how it's affected me. So I'm glad you got the book, and I'm really glad that you're reading it, because I think you'll find that it will just ingrain in you the power that you have within yourself, Mindy, to make a big difference in the world. Right up there in Vermont. So, without much further conversation, let's meditate. Let's get into some of that, into that higher level of consciousness. And I use what's called an Insight Timer. It's an app on my iPhone. And it's a pretty cool little application. It's free, and the version I have is free. I just use it for meditation. And the nice thing about it for me is it has different bells you can set. And I like having an interval bell. When I do a 20-minute meditation, which we're going to do here in a minute, I like having a bell come 3 times during that 20-minute period to sort of wake me up from any trances I might. Often we think we're meditating, we think we're in prayer, when actually we've followed a thought deep into a hole and we're in a trance. So the idea of the Insight Timer is to wake us up from those trances and reset. Let's get started here today. And I like to start with just raising your hands up in the air and just holding them there. I want you to hold them there because I want us to feel the presence with the life force within us. How do you know you're alive? Because you can feel it in your body. You just raised your arms. What raised your arms? The same presence as hears my voice. Without that life force presence, that invisible form, the unmanifested before you raised your, what you could not have raised your arms because you wouldn't be alive. It's who you are. And it's so close. It's so close to us. We get confused and think so we're an individual entity. We're an individual Martin with all his power. But I can assure you, and if I didn't have that life force instant, I wouldn't be able to raise my arms, nor would I be able to learn this software. I wouldn't be alive. That's what we are. We are this aliveness in the moment. That's all there is. That's pretty exciting. So raise your arms up in it and become aware of the presence of life within yourself, within us. And just be still and become aware of it. Become aware of the fatigue that might be coming into your shoulders right now. Now bring your hands and put them over your heart. And begin to get still. Still, not still, still. Begin to get still. Quiet the mind. And feel your way into the heart space. Don't think about your heart. Feel it. Feel it. And when thoughts come across your radar screen, which they do because that's what the mind does, it creates thoughts. The invitation is to think it and let it go. Think it and let it go. Surrender it to the heart. Surrender. The thought is simply an energy form, temporary energy form that you can let go of, or you can hold on to. In contemplative prayer, in this practice, we learn the practice of letting go of our thoughts, letting go of our opinions, letting go of our judgments, to be present to the truth of what is. That is Zen. So if your mind's still thinking and you're having a little difficulty, and one little technique you might consider is focusing your mind on your breath for a few moments. Just bring your awareness to the in-breath, the out-breath. Bring your awareness to the rise and the fall of your rib cage as you breathe in and out. Become aware of your belly as you might want to relax it. Are you holding any tension there? Allow the breath to open up any channels, any blockages between the belly and the heart. To connect power with love. Our power is in the belly. Often we hold our breath. We might be cutting ourselves off from our power. Which is why we stop and we breathe. We breathe into our power. And now just allow the vibration of the bell to take you deeper into your sides, deeper into your interiority, beyond the thought. The empty space beyond the thought, before the thought. Again, allow the bell to wake you up, bring you present to this moment. Allow the vibration to take you deeper into this moment. Welcome back. How was your journey? We learn what we teach, teach what we learn. Um, in that practice for me, I became aware of the interval bells woke me up to what happens for me is I get these big ideas. I remember these, like that idea that one human beings or many humans, one being idea. What I do in meditation is all of a sudden I get this big idea of this big aha comes up from nowhere in presence. But what happens is my mind, my brain begins to attach to it and develop it further into something. It begins manifesting it into something in the moment. And that's not a good or a bad thing. It's just what it is. And but what happens is that I really want this 20 minutes is actually my brain getting bored with being quiet, actually. So it finds something to entertain itself with. And as good as the entertainment might be, and as valuable as it might be, that's not really what I want this practice for. I want to get quiet for the next big idea and the next aha. Just sharing something with you. Anybody else got anything they want to share today with us? Mike, it was so nice that you joined us. I love that you brought in the idea of Zen and the art of motorcycle. Very clear that the message about how we use this contemplative practice to live our everyday lives and to solve problems and to create a great world, maintain our bicycles. Anybody got anything else they want to add today to our conversation? If not, then may love and prosperity prevail. Thank you so much for being here.